Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello everybody and welcome to the latest Anfield Index Under Pressure podcast. My name's Dan Kenner. And with me to discuss the Inter and Brighton games. Not 2 wins this week, which is a bit of a novelty for us. This is going to be a sports science heavy focus pod because I have the two brainiacs with me. First of all, he's broadcasting live from his ivory tower at Middlesex University. It is Dr. Phil Barter.
How are you doing? They don't pay me enough to sit there at night time, Darth, but yeah.
Yeah. And then, conversely, I do have and he's broadcasting live from Derby Ladies' boot room, I believe. Simon Brundish.
Evening, boys.
Yeah, the contrast between you two fellas, I love it.
Might be closer to SGP. I actually am closer to SGP right now.
Oh, name dropping St George's Park there for anybody who doesn't realise it, the National Training Complex. There you go. Right, okay, now we are not going to spend very long on the Inter game. Unfortunately, we don't have any pressing. Roji's been otherwise engaged and not able to do it, unfortunately, this week. But we are going to just touch very briefly on the Inter game, but before we focusing on Brighton. So, I guess one of the biggest things we need to focus on the Inter game, though, is as in all this recent run, is the rotation and the use of the squad. So, Si, I mean, it was yet another. Was it 4 changes from the weekend?
3.
3.
Yeah. Great. Keep doing it. We do. It's such a really systematic, plotted out in advance, sticking to all the science rotation model. Tim Gabbert, who would be overjoyed with this. Barts will know what I'm talking about. It's just tremendous. Keep it up. It's keeping our legs fresh of the runners in midfield, and keeping everybody. I don't know. It feels like the most attuned our midfield have been to coming in and out. Like, do you not see like the level of meritocracy is at its high, at its peak under Klopp? I've never seen this before. I agree with that. Yeah. Like Hendo's getting dragged off, and there's no like, oh, we're going to leave this lad because he is better. He is a bigger character or whatever. It's not. It's literally we're everybody is playing well. Everybody is having a decent amount of minutes to retain some kind of rhythm and keep them topped up. It's a masterclass.
Yeah, it's amazing what sharing the minutes out does for motivation, doesn't it? And engagement in the model and the process.
We saw Thiago, Fab, and CJ for the 3rd time in 3 weeks, didn't we? In one of the games. So
exactly.
Yeah, and then it was Jota's turn to come back in, and who went off early this time? It was the midfielders were rotated this game, but then we saw on the weekend game we'll come to, Diaz was back in, and so it's just a continual use of the squad. Anyway, very nice indeed. Inter. Were pretty much they went with Sanchez, Barts. I guess that was the big deal from them.
Yeah, dropped Deco and Dzeko even put Sanchez in, but everything else was the same from the first leg. Yeah, I mean Dzeko scored a hat-trick at the weekend, I think, before the game, and then gets dropped and doesn't even get any minutes. So but I think it made him more mobile up top.
More pressing as well, I guess.
More pressing.
Well, but apparently, I read that on the internet that Inzaghi outcoached Klopp in both of the legs. So I was just wondering, Barts, who did Inter get in the next round?
I don't know. Wait, I mean the draw's Friday, so I mean I'm on tenterhooks to see who they get. I really am. I mean maybe they get a favourable draw, you know. So, but absolutely shocking comments you see on the internet, isn't it, these days?
But me and Si were both at the game. I haven't actually watched this one back. I didn't have much motivation to watch the defeat back when we were going through anyway. I put the passing networks in the live show chat. Just a quick word on the summary statistics for the match, because Rosie's not here to do his summary. It was 12 shots to 6 for us, and the XG on this was on between the posts model was 1.6 to us to 0.3 to Inter. Inter didn't have a single shot within 14 meters of goal, and we had 3 big chances and contrived to miss them all. I think they were Salah hitting the post twice, and also the Diaz chance, I think, were the big chances. And the Diaz one at the end was a huge chance, to be fair. So, Bart, just a quick word on the patterns of play, and how did you see it on the TV?
Well, as I said to you before, I didn't watch the first half live.
Okay.
I was out playing football myself. So I thought, to be honest with you, I mean, you guys were there. I think this is very similar to the first leg. I thought things that I thought were great tactically. They kept their wide players, and they were wide wing backs, high and wide. So they were always there. So the switch was always on, and you saw that with a couple of occasions where they won it and then switched it to the other side, and they were causing us not trouble, but they were progressing that way. They still did their pressing, I think, as well as can be. But I mean, it was the cards that happened. I mean, just after their goal, that's the pivotal moment. After that, they changed tactics and they dropped off. So that changed our approach, and a lot of our. I mean, I will put in. I've done one of my graphs again about what we do in terms of our passing and touches, which, you know, it's one of those. It's sort of, it shows you the periods in which we were good and bad, but a lot of that is dependent on the fact that they went down to 10 men. You know, which any side doing that in Europe, you look at your last period here on the bar graph, we were up, but that's also the period the last 2 parts there, we were playing against 10 men. So I think it does show you the impact. Diaz came on at 84 minutes, didn't he? Yeah. So our shots went up and our final third passes went up a little bit at that time. But yeah, I thought it was very similar to the first game in many regards, but then equally I did generally, that's why it made me laugh about the BT and some of the general comments about Inzaghi out coaching Klopp, because I thought we were fairly controlled. I generally thought we were keeping the ball well. I mean, some of our basics weren't great, but you know, they haven't been for a bit. But you look at pass map, it's a fairly decent pass map in terms of keeping it contained. And if he, what is it, 2% chance that he scores the goal from?
It was.
And as I said, if BVD just defends that point better, or I mean, I'm not going to pick on Matip, but his choice of, he has 2 options to do, and I think he chooses. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but if you look at the image where he's got the ball just before he makes the pass, which is in the chat, he can play that to Thiago or Trent, but he chooses to go long along the line to hit Salah, who's been muscled all game by their centre, by the forward or down the lane. And loses it, and then he doesn't recover, and then BVD doesn't step and make the thing, and they score. It's a minor point why we won the tie.
I don't know. I mean, I think to be honest, I think they're all very much in the thing that the whole match for me was we didn't go full gun. No. We were kind of contained. We were kind of reserved because we were 2-0 up to start the game. And Si, I don't know about you, but I thought we were a little bit tentative, a little bit caught between 2 stools, maybe.
I think it often feels like that more than it actually is because the outcome. I think we created some really good chances. Mo hit the post. If you get your best player the opportunity in the middle of the box that he had, and he hit the post twice. Matip hit the bar. I think we created the chances to kill the game. We just didn't.
Set plays, we absolutely beasted them, didn't we? On set plays, everyone that came in, there was a shot off. Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, I don't think they could live. If we'd have gone ahead, that'd have been, and we just didn't. And then they scored from half-assed defending, largely a thunder bastard from 2 really half-assed bits of defending. If we weren't 2-0 up, no way in the world neither Matip or Virgil. It was the most un-Virgil-like thing. This is about as big as a mistake that Virgil van Dijk makes. It was. We can't argue against it. We were 2-0 up. Who cares? Fine. Just do that in this game and save yourself for the games that actually matter, dude.
Yeah. And then even then, he's only guilty was allow a 1 in 50 chance to go unchallenged. Yeah, that's a mistake. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I think Si's right though. Even at the end, Diaz has a chance in the box, right? Yeah. And Vidal comes from nowhere to block it, and that'd have been 1-0. We hit the woodwork 3 times and had a chance like Diaz does. That's what four big chances. Well, 4 chances we would have scored on another day, at least one.
So anyway, I got the 2-leg stats combined. So obviously it was 2-1 on aggregate. XG over the 2 games was 2.9 for us, 0.8 for Inter. Shots was 25-15. Shots on target 4-3 in our favour. Shots in the box 17-7. Big chances 5 for us over the 2 legs, 0 for Inter. Set plays 1.3 for us, XG 0.1 for Inter. So we absolutely dominated on set plays, and an open play was 1.6 for us, 0.7 for Inter. So a pretty comprehensive, pretty comprehensive tie, really. In what was one of the hardest last 16 opponents we could have drawn, to be fair. I'm just going to put it to you, Barts. In terms of the context of the season, taking an unlucky defeat like this, in the grand scheme of things, in a dead rubber, is a pretty good. We take that defeat would have been much more damaging in a league game, such as like Leicester again, or in the next, the first leg of the next round, for example.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's that element of. You talk about it a lot about randomness, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to take a random event to lose a game of football in a game that doesn't really matter, then fair play. I just like winning, and I think the boys do as well. Like,
but even we lose, and we lose about once every 20 games, on average. I mean,
that's that 3rd in 54 or something like that.
3 losses in 54 matches. Yeah.
But I mean, Klopp said all the right things as well, saying none of them were angry. None of them were happy. They were angry. They were disappointed after the game, and you just hope that, well, as we'll come on to, they just get going and start again in training, and here we go again. I think it's just. I never like losing at home, and I know it doesn't matter whether it's home and away. It's just that thing. We hadn't lost there in nearly a year or something. It was just those kind of things, but they don't actually matter. You're right. And if you're going to take the random event, then let's hope we don't get any more 2% chances for the rest of the season going.
Yeah. The only thing I would say it's a shame that we haven't got the pressing data for is because I don't think we pressed that well in attack in the Gagan. And I was quite impressed, Si, I don't know about you, by their press resistance, especially in that centre-left area of their team with Brozovic, Bastoni, De Vrij, Kalamoglu. I thought they were pretty useful there. How did you see them?
I thought we were way better than people give us credit for. We pressed really well. They were unbelievably press resistant. They managed to control what we were doing. They knew what we were going to do. And they were happy for us to, and they tried to take advantage of it by their brilliant playing out. They were greatly helped by the fact that the referee was an abomination. It was a proper. Oh my God! It might be the worst refereeing performance at Anfield that I remember for a long while.
But the one in the away leg was really good. The referee in the away leg, yeah.
That guy was absolutely awful.
He looked like he had no control of the match to me.
I agree.
Yeah,
and it was one of those moments. It was one of those games that reminded me of like late Brendan when things were going against us a little bit. The ref was terrible, and it got into the players' heads that the ref, and definitely on the fans' heads that the ref was terrible, and the opposition could kind of do what they wanted to. And we kind of recovered, but there were definite moments in the game where we lost our heads a little bit. Not like throwing ourselves around trying to recover it Stevie G style, but where it just felt like it was going against us. So let's just keep the ball. Nothing's going our way. But
you know what it reminded me of?
Came about from their really tacit possession-based stuff.
You said Brendan, Si. It reminded me of Dalglish, the Kenny season.
Really?
Oh yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
What, hitting the post?
Yeah, hitting the post and loads of shots and loads of big chances without scoring and stuff. It was just more like that, but yeah.
No, I just meant like the body language when the referee gave him yet another decision against us.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
So we have to talk about the ref briefly. So Sanchez on Thiago in the first half, was that a red? Was that Phil? Was it an orange?
Yeah, I know. As I said, I did watch the first half because I hadn't actually watched it live.
Did you see the incident?
I thought it was a red card. He's above the ball, studs on the leg. I think is he in control now? It's reckless.
Because the ref gave a yellow and they reviewed it to the VAR, but they didn't say serious foul play.
He's not in control. For me, he's not in control of the challenge, which as the only decent thing about BT, which they bring a ref on to talk about the decisions at the end of the game. He defined it as being, are you in, basically, do you have control of your body, if you like? And that's where it's deemed or reckless. And I don't think he did. He completely missed the ball and hit Thiago's leg. And you're lucky that Thiago moved a little bit, otherwise could have been in trouble.
And obviously the main one after the game was then Sanchez's second yellow. What was the outrage about this? Because you saw this unfold on TV. What was the outrage about?
I genuinely couldn't believe what I was listening to. So again, I think it's Peter Walton, isn't it? Comes on.
Did he say it was a second yellow?
He said it was second yellow, and he said the first one he thought was like an orange, if you like. It was in between. The second one, he was like, no, this is definite. That's a definite second yellow and deservedly sent off because he's out of control. He's out of control. And then when Rio started off talking about, well, he's not intended though. You can see he's trying to pull out. The referee went, intent was taken out of the law 10 years ago, Rio. And then literally carried on. And then I can't remember the girl who was the woman. Sorry,
Farrah Williams.
Farrah Williams. Yeah, and Everton as well. Started talking about how Fab was late to the challenge, so it was his fault he got challenged. And actually Sanchez made a pass, so he got booked for making a pass. And I was just sat there in disbelievement that a guy's gone over the ball into one of our players, and yet they're blaming Fab for getting a foul on. I just couldn't believe it.
You mean Liverpool ex-Liverpool captain Farrah Williams?
Yeah, I think she was Everton as well, wasn't she? I think
she played for everybody, literally everybody in the league: Chelsea, Arsenal.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
So there are basically it's because everybody was disappointed because the game was just getting interesting, and then it was ended. Is that basically? And then they had to.
I think so. Yeah, and then they basically started the fact that Liverpool were lucky over the two legs, and the Inter should have gone through.
Brilliant. That's the analysis. That's the level of analysis we get in the UK, everybody.
And I literally had to turn it off at that point. I was like, I'm not listening to this. That's absolute rubbish, because I knew the XG at that point was nearly 3 to 0.6 or whatever as it looked on football. And I was like, that's a ridiculous statement. Absolutely ridiculous statement. And is it Jack Humphreys? Is it Jake Humphreys?
Jake, yeah.
Yeah, he was just completely agreeing with them, nodding along. And I was like, wow, people pay for this. I mean, obviously I paid for it, obviously.
Oh, Jake's had a bad week because he was roundly mocked by the entire mediocrity of the media pundits, because he did a tweet earlier in the week saying that podcasts were a niche thing and everybody should do them.
It wasn't even that. It was, aren't I amazing for managing to make this into the number one podcast in Britain? This weird niche podcasting thing, because I've made it famous now.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, Jake's had a bit of a mare this week. No, and he was roundly mocked.
Though I think he's probably doing all right with a 40,000 sellout of £60 a ticket.
Is it his high performance podcast? Isn't it?
High performance podcast, yeah.
Is it any good, by the way, Si?
I don't enjoy it, but he gets lots of good reviews. There's lots of sports sciencey stuff on there.
Is that the one that had the ref on it, Si?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, anything else on Inter?
No. They had 6 touches in the box. We had 32.
That's pretty dominant.
To say that we didn't deserve to go through is an absolute shocker.
It's garbage. Bear in mind, Inter were my second team as a kid. I love Inter.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna, take them out of the knees here. I was really pleased with how some of their players played and their tactical setup and how Inzaghi imposed their will on us. But it wasn't close. It really wasn't. Like that if Burnley had that impact on that threat on our goal over 2 game period, you couldn't even, the British press couldn't have even made out that was unlucky for them to go out.
Yeah, and if you could pick one Inter player for us to say, who would it be?
Barella.
Okay, and he didn't even play in the 2 matches.
No, that's a big deal for them, but yeah.
Okay, and of the ones who played? Calhanoglu as an 8, or Bastoni?
Yeah, I love Bastoni, but where's he going to play? He's going to get Virgil out of the team.
Yeah, I like Perisic, but again, where's he going to play?
He's 47.
No, I know, but I just, you know what I mean? I just like a...
Yeah.
You know,
that's why I say Calhanoglu as an 8, one of the...
love Calhanoglu, but no, don't worry enough.
Edit, let's move on. Right, so... big game, Saturday lunchtime. We go first this week. First game up. I still don't like the 12:30 Saturday kickoffs, but we go down there, and it was an absolutely routine 2-0 win. And we're going to start again with the rotation side, because yet more changes.
Yeah, it just continued the whole trend. 3 more, and he keeps rotating both the 8s. Fab plays. Rotate the 8s and rotates one of the forwards, just to make sure all of the hot runners are given a bit of time off to dull the high intensity, so that they're ready to fly again for the next game. And they're largely getting 30 or 60 and rock and roll. It's just utterly tremendous, and we're going to hopefully get a bit more rotation on. Do we play Forest on Friday, wherever it is? Sunday, maybe? Don't know. So the FA
20th,
Cup,
isn't it?
Don't know. The FA Cup will get a bit more rotation.
Yeah. But something to come back to you, because you were the main architect of this at the start of the season, the roles discussion. The number one thing we are seeing in terms of the selection, the rotations in recent weeks, is the rotation of Naby and Thiago in that left role.
I think it's helping both, because it's keeping them both fit from a physiological point of view. But I think it also helps give Naby that regular game time, which I think he needs. And you're starting to see that now. I think we said in the chat before the game, I said to Gags, he's now connecting both our defensive play and our attacking play. And we'll come onto it in some of the chains. But I think you're starting to see this is a really good run of form. What is it now? 8 games he's played now in a row. Something like that. He's really coming onto his own, and he's and I think they've what I like about it is they've both seemingly bought into the fact that right, okay, he's starting, he's getting 60, I'll come on to 30, and I'll have an impact. They both know they've got chances to have an impact, and I think we're benefiting. The control we've had in the last this run of games has been. But it's
really literally good. 90 minutes over 2 matches, isn't it? Each.
It is, each. It's perfect. And at the moment, I know we're all talking about. I mean, when we first saw the fixtures, we were like, there's a load of fixtures, but it's almost perfect for that type of not congestion, but a run of fixtures. We've got 2 games a week, the right amount of rest here and there, and we can play these guys 90 each, split over 2 games, and it means we maintain that control. I think it'd be great. I think Fab will probably drop out for the FA Cup to give him a rest, which means Hendo's minutes might be limited against Arsenal. But yeah, I just think it's working well, and the roles therefore are defined, and I think you're starting to get the side. They look machine-like, if we can say that.
I think we can definitely say that. Really, we can. So one of the stories I want to look at in the Brighton match in the data, as well as the performance, is the contrast with the reverse fixture side back in October, because that match was one of our poorest performances of the season, and we were very lucky, I think, not to lose that match, despite being 2-0 up at one point. How did you see, you're thinking back to that game and the way we changed that and the way we approached this game?
I think we just had a better lineup in midfield, basically. That we had much better control in this game than in that game, even though possession was similar. And and at no point did we get countered on, which was quite. We were going through a period, if you remember, at the time where our midfield were kind of getting settled, and there were periods in the game where people were just running straight past the midfield and they were knocking the ball
caught ahead of the ball
and they were getting through.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. We're in much greater control of space. I think there's a few factors in play there. I think the midfield know their roles better. I think the connecting eight is doing a much better job now. I think that that Hendo isn't playing with his hair on fire, and I think also Virgil is back to being masterful. And I think he was a little bit shaky early in the season, which kind of caused a little bit of that stress at the back line.
Yeah. So now Virgil is at what, 20? He's at 19 months after the initial injury. No?
Yeah.
So, and I remember you saying at the time you can be playing again after 11 months with a fair wind, but there's a period of recovery that doesn't come for another, 3 or 4, even 5 months after you first come back.
Easy. Yeah.
Easy.
So, and we're so 18 months is typical when you start to feel like yourself.
Right.
And there's still, after that, there's still another 6 months that you're in the at risk window.
Okay.
But But bear in mind that the numbers on these things are set against all populations, not just against people that are 6'7", made of Greek marble.
Nice. So that game back in October, there was the front three was the classic front three in their lineup, and we played Curtis on the left 8, Naby was the right 8, and Hendo was the 6. So, but in this game, Barts, it was your preferred blend in the midfield.
Yeah, if I can't have Thiago every game, yes. It was Naby on the left as a controller.
In terms of blend of roles, sorry.
The roles, yeah. Everyone who was on the pitch in the midfield was playing the role they should be playing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So round pegs in round holes.
Round pegs in round holes. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing too is the experiment with Mane as the centre forward continues, with Diaz on the left and Mo on the right. I mean, just generally, I mean, how do you think that Sadio is adapting to the centre forward role? But
yeah, because I remember we were chatting about this, and I think it's hard, isn't it? Because I think on a second watch, you get a lot more out of what Sadio does than on a first watch. I think at first watch you can get frustrated by his on the ball stuff. He's not. I don't think we've got used to seeing Jota playing up front, which, as Si calls him, Lineker. He finishes pretty much everything that comes near him. And Sadio's not quite doing that. But then off the ball, when you watch it back again, he is pressing better. If you look at a lot of the average positions, he's helping, he's backing. I know him. We've coming onto the present day with this game, and I think he's very much improved. He's learning to drop onto. I think it's Bassom. Is it Bassami or whatever his name is? Basuma drops on him in this game, so that helps out. So I think whereas early on doing this role, I think he was playing almost like he would do it for his national side. So it was just playing the full role. So I think he's learning that now. I'm still not 100%. I think I still rather have Jota in form playing that role, but we might come on to that. But no, I think this is definitely one of those where we always say you pick a lot more up by watching it a second time round. I think you pick a lot more up what Sadio does off the ball on a second time watch.
Yeah, and so coming on to the start of the match, there was a little bit of a tussle early doors with Brighton having some good possession in the first few minutes, and they had a long shot from Morpay that had Alisson scrambling. But looking at the Papa chart, the intensity of that first period was unbelievable. And it was just this general speed of the match was just phenomenal.
Yeah, we both really were white hot in pressing, and nobody was having a second touch of the ball. They were all trying to get a touch of the ball, and both sides were flying into presses. Both were really compressing the play as well, and there were some opportunities over the top for both teams early on. I think they had 3 shots before we had our first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot shots, kind of more, but still, yeah.
Rather than big chances or anything.
Yeah.
But it really, that even that being said, there have been games recently where teams haven't had 3 shots in the whole game against us, so on target. So it's they still fancied their chances by going toe to toe with us. I thought that was their methodology in this game.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say that they don't play like the majority of teams we come up against in the Premier League. They don't. They build it through midfield. They don't necessarily just launch everything straight back over our heads. They look to dominate the ball.
Yeah, they do, and they I think Leeds are similar in one facet of that. In that they want the ball, they want to dominate possession. That Leeds press slightly more than Brighton do, but Brighton is still a high pressing team. Brighton play like that they have players that are much better than they are. It's weird that Potter gets a lot of credit, but he actually coaches and sets up their team like literally every academy team in the country. Every academy team in the country's coach thinks they are Pep Guardiola and just set up their team to play out from the back, split the centre backs, drop their centre forward in, all of that stuff, all the pretty stuff. And you can, which is fantastic, and you might get some shiny possession numbers, but in the grand scheme of things, unless you have great players up front, you don't get the cutting edge in the end.
Well, I was about to say that. I mean, is their problem that they have no cutting edge?
Or let me pose this: is their problem that they play in a way that requires a higher caliber of player than they have to be successful?
That's a good point. We've
said that before, though, haven't we? That's Pep, isn't it? I know you've said that already, but I'm just saying. There's 2, like we said about Palace at the start of the season, didn't they? They got beat by us at Anfield, and we had that conversation about the fact that Vieira's trying to implant a new way of playing, trying to get them to play, and maybe it's not quite suit the players, but he kept going with it, and now he's got them playing. Potter's been at this for 2 years now, and he's still getting the same results, So I think there's something in what I said there in terms of the quality of player can't put away the chances they're getting. They do some interesting stuff. They press around the 2Ds for us, which is different. I didn't really think they went high press with us. They just waited for us. I think our long ball rate was slightly up, 2% up, maybe.
I was going to say, do you think that we changed? We've had some problems with Brighton in the last 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. Do you think we changed our approach this game, Barts?
I think so. Yeah, I think Keep You Up.
We learned from our previous engagements with them.
Yeah, I do. I mean, Keep You Up. He mentioned it in one of the chats. He said that he hadn't seen Addison go short for a goal kick all game, and I think on a quick scan, he's right. He went long with pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
And which negates that, so they're not. You don't get into that zone where Brighton were looking to target. We just bypassed that and then went and played.
Our 2 players that got pressed that made the most passes under pressure were the 2 centre backs. And that is not how teams usually set up against us.
Yeah.
If anything, they'll only target one of them. Nobody ever targets Virgil. And they will typically target one or two of the midfielders. So you usually get a hot spot of pressing in the midfield. And what they did was backed off the midfield and mostly allowed... they cut the passing lanes into Fab. They pressured... Matip and Virgil, and they stupidly they were allowing Trent and Robbo a little bit more time to bring the ball to center, like the centre circle, to the halfway line, and then they were pressing them rather than pressing them straight away. Or if they were in their half, they got pressed straight away. But they were allowed to be an out ball at the back, which is really interesting. And it was a different way of pressing and putting pressure on our players that they actually they played really, really compact. So lots of teams that play against us, they play with the really tight back four or five, but then they also drop their wide players. So they cover the whole of the back line. And we had 20 metres either side of their fullbacks to the touchline if we wanted them.
Yeah, I think they changed system second half. I think they started with a 4 and went to a 3 in the second half.
So because of that space.
Because of that space, I'm saying, yeah.
So, but say what you were saying there, definitely there was at least 4 occasions in the first 15 minutes where we tried to counter right through the middle, and either Basuma or one of the centre backs, or somebody broke up an attack and then they sprung directly from that. But I thought there was a noticeable shift that we almost like outpatiented them, because we almost like reversed that tactic, and we did in this game a lot of our pressing, which we'll show in a minute, was definitely in more of a mid block position, and we managed to spring and counter on Brighton, especially as the first half went on. How did you see that?
Yeah, makes sense. If you look at the average positional touch map of Robbo played much more of the conservative inverted fullback than Trent in this game. And he had an awful lot of cover from Naby. Naby was always in the right spot, blocking off the pass into Malpe or tucking in with Robbo and making little triangle combinations to play out from that side.
He was
leaving a big, huge swathe of land for Diaz to do whatever he liked down that wing, and just backing up play, giving him some support rather than getting around him. And on the other side, we were creating the right side triangle a little, that like we had been earlier in the season.
So I don't think I've seen that role from Robbo very often, Si, for us, where he's almost become like a continuity player at left back rather than the attacking outlets and stuff like that. But he had the most passes in the match.
Yeah, it's the combinations. We talked last week about the different skill sets that the forwards provide, and you literally just want to make sure that the lunatic on the left wing gets the ball quickly, gets to isolate his man, but you've got somebody in close proximity to pick it up when the ball bounces off somebody's shin and they don't get to break on him. That's it, because he can cause any sort of damage. He's going to get the ball and run like a lunatic. There is a good chance that he is going to lose possession and the ball's going to go back behind you. So don't go round outside him. There's no reason to cause that overlap on the outside, because he can beat the man on his own.
Question for you with your sports science hats on, both of you lads. Is Diaz our quickest player now over any of these distances, 10, 20, 50 metres? Or is he kind of just in the top bracket of our team?
I think he's fast. I'm not sure he's that
fast. Yeah, I'm not. The thing that impresses me is he can sustain it over a long distance. I'm not sure he's that quick off the mark.
Sadio, remember early in the season, didn't he, on the LFC, one of the LFC videos, he said, who's the fastest in the team? He said, over 50 metres, Virgil. And he said, over 5 metres, me. So they obviously test these things in training, don't they? But
it's like, you're talking about, the context here is, as Si often says, this is one of the quickest teams in the Prem.
Yeah.
Like, they're all not slow at all.
Yeah.
Even Joel's probably quicker than us.
Oh God, Ali's quicker than us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they're all not slow. I
bet there are 5 players I bet there are 5 defenders that are faster than Matip.
Mm.
He is rapid, and we just don't give credit to how fast footballers are, but also how fast our players are, because Virgil van Dijk's the fastest by an absolute mile.
Yeah,
and you just never see that absolute max speed.
He shows about once every 5 games when he's in trouble.
Yeah, but you've also got to be quick, because we defend massive spaces.
Yeah.
One of the counteracts to that is that you have space to recover if you need to, but we hardly ever need to recover. But yeah, they're all not slow.
Yeah. Anyway, we will come on to a couple of more discussions about the pace thing in a minute. But let's talk about the opening goal. Si, this was Joel Matip as Alan Hansen reincarnates, basically, as he's continued his whole 21-22 form. He was amazing.
Yeah, he is. He was brilliant. Do you know what? That's a really, really good comparison. I hate the comparisons with Van Dijk and Hansen because I don't think it's fair to Hansen. They're not the same. Virgil can do all the things that Alan Hansen used to do, and about 4,000 things more. But Matip might be a much better comparison. He goes on the mazy runs that Hansen used to, just from the other side of the pitch. But we saw this pass 5 or 6 games ago for the first time him try to attempt this stuff. It came about basically that they were making sure, as I said, that Trent is pressured as soon as he gets the ball in the opposition's half, and so their left back had an eye on Trent. Trent was high, and he made a fake run forward, drop deep, which dragged the 8 out towards him, which created a little bit of space for Matip to meander into midfield, totally unmarked. That Mane had cycled deep, doing the little Bobby thing, and both the wide forwards had come inside, and both of them made runs at the same time. And Matip just made a phenomenal Trent-like pass, and the rapid Diaz got on the end of it and brained just a lunatic of a man, threw himself at it and got like properly GBH'd to within an inch of his life, I think. But it was a fabulous pass.
And just from because you're the player who came closest to playing at a pro level here. In fact, the only one who came close. He would have Diaz would have known, wouldn't he, say that the keeper was about to clatter him, right?
Yeah, 100%. See him, you can hear it.
Yeah, but tremendous bravery in that, in knowing that you're going to get flattened. Tremendous bravery.
Right, do you know what? Right, yeah, there is some bravery involved, but he's not expecting to get a knee in the chin.
Nah,
he's just expecting to get bumped by his chest.
He's not expecting to get slapped around his face either.
Bicep, but you're not going to get kneed in the chin.
Nah.
You don't expect assault, you just expect contact. So 100% he would have stuck his head there. He wasn't low, he wasn't expecting to get kicked. He would have stuck his head in. Part of him might have thought he might have got a fist if he'd have come to clear it, but by that stage he would have got a penalty. That's a risk he's willing to take. He would have expected some contact, for sure. But the guy absolutely mullered him.
He also would have expected the guy to get sent off if he did get contact. Do you know what I mean? It's a risk, isn't it? I'll get a contact here, I might score, I'll get clattered, but there might be a pen or it might be a sending off. You know?
So, Bart, we talked about, you were moaning about the pundits and the intermat, but every single pundit I saw, probably about 8 or 9 overall, all said red. No arguments, absolute red. What is going on?
I don't even understand how they. I mean, have they come out and said anything? Or have I missed it? Is it about? No, right. So they've just
even Garth Crooks has said it was an outrageous decision.
Yeah. I saw people talking about Harold Schumacher and Patrice Battiston in the 1982 World Cup. I thought that's one from the archives.
Yeah, I don't understand. I think I said it a while ago. If you've got the video right in front of you, that he's still making a wrong decision, something's going on.
I hate that this is anything to do with VAR. The referee was 10 metres away, had a clear line of sight. If he didn't know that's a red card, he has no place on a professional football pitch.
Yeah. That's fair. But I mean, equally, if you see it on a replay on a TV and you don't say anything, that's still not right. You know, I just can't believe the guy didn't even tell him to go and look at the monitor.
I think there's been some egregious decisions in the whole Premier League omnishambles implementation of VAR, but I think for me this is the most egregious because it's this one's dangerous. Some of the others have just been egregious because they're crap, like the one where Bamford was caught offside because he was pointing. That one. Things like that. But this is outright dangerous. I mean, he could have been seriously injured here because it was a neck-high challenge, wasn't it?
Yeah, you see his neck fly back, his head fly back. It's like, this could have seriously injured Diaz. He was down on the ground for a good couple of minutes, and nothing. He didn't get booked.
Yeah, didn't even get a yellow card.
Yeah, I think you're right. This is probably because of the danger level or the endangering an opponent is the worst part about this decision. The rest of them are just all sporting, aren't they? Just an outcome we didn't like.
Yeah. So anyway, the Premier League sort of one who gets all the skinny from the Pogmol and the Premier League about VAR, Dale Johnson of ESPN. He's read, and he said the reason it wasn't overturned was because of this high bar, this mythical high bar, which the Premier League has decided to implement in its for its VAR process. So to limit the amount of overturns, so the bar for overturning is incredibly high. It'd be useful to get some examples of what is something that would be overturned under this high bar rule. But
I think it's bullshit. There's no evidence of a high bar other than the Dale Murphy.
So you think he's a Pogmol apologist?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think any referee has said anything about it. There's no rule saying that there's a specific high bar, and there have been significant overturns this season.
Yeah.
No penalty.
I haven't seen.
Go and see the monitor. Here's a penalty, you dickhead. We've seen that recently.
I haven't seen anything published by the Premier League or Pogmol or anybody or IFAB or anybody talking about what the high bar is.
No, there's no difference in rule.
Yeah,
it's because Dale says it earlier on. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't believe it exists, but he kind of says it's
a smoke screen to cover up people. Yeah.
Dale was saying it's supposed to be they don't want more than 1.5 in major instant decisions via VAR a game or something like that because the Euros were 2 a game. Well, I don't know, but anyway, I just was. How have you got half a decision that comes into anyway? So I just think it's the biggest load of excuse my French, crap going on. That's an error. Let's call it out as an error. Yeah, that's probably the biggest problem I've got with referees in this country. That there's no accountability.
Yeah, for sure. There is no accountability. Okay, the game carried on. Sanchez stayed on the pitch. Just a quick word on some quick stats on Joel Matip. He is 5th in the top 5 leagues combined. This is amongst all players, including forwards, midfielders, defenders, for progressive distance per 90 minutes. Not total distance, but just the progressive distance. So he's 247 metres per 90 minutes. So Aymeric Laporte from Man City is top with 314 metres. And then above him, you've got Alphonso Davies for Bayern, Eric Garcia of Barcelona, and Vinicius Junior of Real Madrid. They're the only, in terms of total progressive distance per 90. Now, once you adjust it in terms of progressive distance divided by progressive carries, Joel Matip is 11th per carry. So he's at 28.1 metres per progressive carry. When he goes on with his carries, he goes on, he's at 28.1 metres average. The long, this is pretty impressive actually, this Barts, that Eric Garcia is top for Barca and his average progressive carry is 38.9 metres.
Jeez.
So Laporte from Man City is actually slightly behind Joel on this one. He's at 27.3, but yeah. So it's I'm a bit skeptical, I have to say, about progressive passes. I am still, but I'm far more on board with the progressive carry.
I think you just highlighted there that Matic's having a great season, and
what else you highlighted there? Vinny is amazing.
Yeah, his entries. He's out Grealish in terms of carries into the box and stuff, and now as well.
I just think it's added a part to our game. I know Gomez was different to VVD, and when he played next to him, but that progressing the ball in that gangly style has added to our attacking play.
Yeah,
it's quite staggering the stats that Matip's bringing out now.
Yeah. So I thought after we took the lead, we took complete control of this match, and I think this is one way where we need to start bringing in some of the actual individual pressing performances about how we control Brighton. So when you are on the first watch and you watch or second watch, how did you see about how we completely nullified Brighton for the rest of that half?
Well, Brighton, for a start, they backed off a little bit and took their time. But because they came from such a narrow base, like it was hard to get out to the width, and we recycled possession really, really nicely in the wide triangles. So like between Robbo, Naby, and Virgil, and Fab, so, whoever is over that side, and then between Trent, usually Trent, Matip, and Hendo down the right hand side. We switched Mane to be the head of basically a diamond in midfield when we had possession, and Mo barely. We're generally the better attacking force when Mo is part of the build-up play, and he had no build-up phase here at all.
He was the outlets.
His hotspot is in the box.
Yeah.
But then, to be fair, this is one of our lowest amount of passes in the season, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it wasn't really a feature of our game to pass it through and involve Mo in the game in that way. It was just he was out there. I mean, was it 400 passes we had, something like that?
Yeah. This is why I was saying that. Did we moderate our approach compared to previous Brighton games and stuff in this one slightly? Just what on the pace thing again, side. One thing we did say, seeing that the first half, was Mo absolutely streaking down the left hand side of the pitch and should have had a penalty.
I thought so too.
Yeah,
he was pulled back, clearly pulled back.
About 15 times.
Was it
no, I mean the one inside the boxes he was about to shoot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hands all over.
On the shoulder, pulls him back. Yeah.
Basuma is a big lad and also rapid.
Yeah.
And then Klopp has to go at him for not squaring it.
Klopp was having a go at the ref for not giving a pen, I think.
The newspapers reported, and the other big fan sites reported that Klopp was having a go at Mo for not passing it. And then there's a clip from the side showing that no point was there fewer than two defenders in the direct line between Mo and Diaz.
The pass wasn't on.
It was pretty obvious on Match of the Day that Klopp was having a go at the ref for not giving the pen.
Right. Okay.
Because on the live, it looks like Klopp's having a go at him.
Yeah, because he puts his hands out, like Basuma put his hands out. He puts his hands out and he's shouting away. So, anyway.
Fair enough. Anyway, there was no pass on.
Yeah.
It was a pen.
But, yeah, I think one of the things we have to bring in, this is where our unique angle on all this, is with all the data. This was Gags this time on collection, was that this was just an unbelievably good off-ball performance in terms of control and stifling an opposition. I mean, I already posted the dashboard before.
Darth, can I set you up with this, right?
Go on.
We talk about opportunity all the time, and this wasn't like a high opportunity, lots of deep recycling in the box
No.
team. But what it is it's there is a function to what we talked about last week, our midfield are now doing, so that we're in the position to create pressing opportunities when we do lose the ball, because it's a moment when we all know we might lose, rather than one player doing something insane on his own and catching our own midfield completely out of position. So the Hendo, do you remember that period? 61% ball retention for like a month. He's over 90. So our midfield in this game, they had 93% ball retention.
Yeah,
that's phenomenal. So that they aren't creating risk. So probably our chances in the box are getting down a little bit, but also as a function of the game, we're all winning, and we're not giving opportunity to the opposition to counter on us. So we're losing possession when we're ready to go and press to get it back again. The thing that Klopp and Pep didn't create was people chasing to get a ball back, attackers chasing to get a ball back. That's not the thing that did. That's not what pressing's about. Pressing is about creating a platform and a structure of play in possession that enables you to turn the ball over again when you lose possession.
And in the areas you want to as well.
Exactly that. And that's what we're doing right now, is that we're creating patterns of play in which we are always secure. If we happen to lose possession in any of those, we've already planned for it at all moments. So at no point are people causing us to be unstable. And even a month ago, we were a little bit unstable, still winning.
I think you said earlier in the season of the element of control. We weren't controlling where we wanted the opposition to play.
Exactly.
Now we're seeing this. We're saying, right, you can play there. You can have your shots from miles away because they're a really low percentage. But then when you come here, we're going to win it off you.
We talk continually.
So do our pressing numbers match up with that, Darth?
Yes, they absolutely do. And we talked continually early in the season about how we had too many weak links in our system, in our pressing chain when we were pressing. And like you said, now it is so much more controlled and so
machine.
Yeah, I would first of all look at the dashboard which we put in, which has got all the summary metrics in. High amount of presses in this game, 203. Not many times you get over 200 a match. 4 presses leading to shots, which is good, for a total of 0.45 xg, which is pretty good, from pressing. 43 group presses. That's one thing that's really come back in with a vengeance in the last 4, 5, 6 games. We're starting to see significant volumes of group presses. In this match, there was a triple group press, which led to a shot, which was the breakaway in the second half for Salah. Wow. It was on Trossard, 3 players simultaneous. But when you've got that mid-block position and everybody can pounce simultaneously, but it's like everybody's within proximity to force that turnover.
Exactly, and I think Gags was saying, was it Naby involved in a high amount of the chain presses? Is that right?
Oh, I mean, you can see this. You can see this on the data viz as well. I mean, the pressing chain is really strong. It's all over the left half space, the left wing, and also the left back channel where they did attack quite a lot down there with Lamptey and
the white guys.
But on that left hand zone with Keita, I mean, Naby Keita in this match. This was his 100th appearance for Liverpool, by the way, Naby Keita, and this is one of his very best off the ball performances. 38 presses in 60 minutes, 62 minutes. It's almost unheard of, that kind of level of intensity. And Gang said that the way he linked in is the second wave with Diaz, with Robbo, and with Fab was just unbelievable. I've got an individual dashboard for Naby. I'll put it up in a second. But he was the star performer here. But in terms of the match, in terms of the pressing numbers, I'm just trying to find the numbers I put in the chat earlier on. So 51.3 possession adjusted for Naby, and that's a 10. Remember, this is a view of intensity. Once you adjust for how much of the ball we've got and how much of the ball the opposition have got. So that's top 20 for any player in a match ever. For us, and Naby's now got 4 of those top 20 most intense performances. So just to give some context of who's got the others, Bobby's got 10 of them. Naby's next with 4. Fab's got 3. Ox has got 2, including the record. Thiago and Taki have got 1 each. But yeah, it was so Naby Keita was. He also had 2 presses leading to shots in this match as well. So it was just an unreal performance. I mean, do you want to add to that based on what you saw on the watch back, Barts, on Naby?
I just thought he was. I mean, you have all of that off the ball, and he got 86% pass rate on the ball. He gets an assist, hits a shot, and he gets a penalty of it. He has 41 touches, which comparison Hendo had 44, Fab 37, so in and around it. And also our passing for Hendo is 73 and Fab 78. So
he played half an hour less than the others.
Exactly, he was, and that's what I'm saying. I thought he was a joy to watch. I really do. He's really got that role working phenomenally. As I said earlier on, he is now, I think, linking the defence and the attack down that left hand side.
You can see it on. You can see it on the shot. I'm going to put it in the. I'll put it in the live show chat now. But you can see the heat map in the left back channel and in the left wing channel. But.
Yeah, it's becoming like a strength, isn't it? It's. I mean, I don't think we have to worry now who's playing the left eight. Do you know what I mean? Whereas before it was, if Thiago's not there, we're going to have a problem. But I think Naby's now, he plays it slightly differently to Thiago. But I don't think he's got the range of passing as Thiago. But he's incredibly good at keeping it simple, moving the ball very simply. Winning it. Being in the right place, connecting play, but then he's on the ball. He makes a simple pass, the right weight. It's really good to see a player completely, I think, trusting and moving and having confidence to play. And as you can see in the, if you put the individual dashboard in the chat,
in the live show,
it's just, that's a performance and a half, you know. And to have 4 for the left connector in the top 20 presses now is brilliant. And I think, was it taken as 100 appearances? But I think you've probably finally seen what they thought they could do with Naby, maybe.
Yeah. And to get those many presses in where you only actually play an hour. It's just unbelievable, really.
It's crazy.
Top target was McAllister with 11. But yeah, it was just essentially, and 2 leading shots. The only player who had more high value presses in the match was Sadio from the centre forward role. But yeah, so top performance from Naby Keita. Si, question for you, because Naby's got a lot of hate. You've been a champion for him on social media for years, and you've had running battles in the Naby wars. How do you see him now in terms of the Wijnaldum role?
It's really interesting that I think Grace said something along the lines of we changed midfield we changed the roles of midfielder in the time between the time we bought him and the season later when he arrived. And I was never entirely sure that's true. I think it's moved on a little bit. And if anything, he should be in Henderson's role on the right side as the high connector, the one that's progressive, that's carrying the ball into the box, that's creating risk, that's creating chances and having shots and goals. And he's not. He's been turned into Ginny's replacement, being totally risk averse, being ball protector, always being tactically in the right spot, and then go and win the ball back in the second wave, not in the front. So his role has completely changed. When he first arrived, he was front foot. He was always the first line of press. He was trying to force chances, which he did all the time. So he used to have really high XG chain numbers, really high XG build numbers, expected assists. He was getting shots off. He was creating chances. He was winning the ball back. Now he is like the ultimate controller of space. It's totally different. I'm not sure I like it better, but it works in this team that way. I would love to see Thiago one side and go and free Naby on the other side. I think it would be a wonderful thing. I don't think we're ever going to see it, sadly.
So, Si, you said risk averse, in a role. You could say risk averse, but it's all relative, because I just put his FBref scouting report in there, and it's fucking phenomenal. That's versus all other midfielders. I mean, so he's got everything. So remember, we used to say that's what Ian Graham said, wasn't it? We saw this guy. This guy has got everything in the data. He was there.
I think I said this to you earlier. I don't think we'll see the pair of them in a game, because the risk of not having either of them available is too high an influence on our performance.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. So
unless
for us
maybe the last game of the season.
Exactly, yeah. Or as Gags said, the Champions League, a final or something, you know what I mean, where they're all fit. But for us to do anything this season, both of them have to keep doing this, sharing 90 over 2 games. We have to have that. They have to be available. One of them has to play the left side 8 or the connector where they do it.
I agree with you, but they're doing very, very different things. Thiago is on a completely different level to me. I love Naby, but they aren't. They're rarely. You just shouldn't compare the two. Thiago might be the best midfielder I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I mean, we talked about how Mo Salah is probably the best player in the world this season, but there's an argument to say that Thiago's actually been Liverpool's best player.
He's not remotely played any kind of minutes, has he? So
that's the thing. That's the crying shame, isn't it? But that's
also the massive advantage that Mo Salah brings you. That's why you have to pay the big bucks, because he's always available.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think if Thiago had Mo's availability, I don't even think we'd be worried about City, would we?
I think if Thiago had Mo's availability, he would be the best player in the world for the last 10 years.
Yeah, and we'd be sat at the top of the league.
It doesn't surprise me at all that that Pep moved to Bayern on the premise that he was going to take Thiago with him. I had no idea how good. Watching him against Inter blew my mind.
Yeah.
And this is not hyperbole. He blew my mind. I couldn't believe how good he was at all the stuff. The way he wins the ball back so aggressively. But he does that thing that Fab does in the tackle pass.
Yeah. I mean, even in this game, he came on and was brilliant.
Yeah, in this game, he didn't give the ball away.
No.
He was utterly amazing. So, yeah, absolutely. Naby is brilliant. I love Naby. I wish they would both play in the same team. I don't think they need to. I don't think they naturally play the same role. Naby absolutely can do all the things that Hendo's role is doing on the other side. I think it seems like it's Naby's natural. I don't understand why he doesn't get played there. It staggers me that he doesn't. But what you put up on about the bars, him looking great this season in the last year. Well, if you drew a graph of those things over a period of over the last 365 days, as it said, Darth, lots of those would have dropped down because his game has changed significantly in the last 4 or 5 months. So earlier on in the season, he was making. He was doing about 5.5 meters per progressive meters per touch. Naby was, and he currently is down at 3.2. He is retaining possession at a much higher level, and he's definitely being risk averse. He's definitely making less incisive movements and less incisive passes. He's been more deliberate about it. I'm absolutely fine with it.
So talking about Thiago here, how good he has been. I mean, I like to think, Barts, there's one stat that you can get off StatsBomb and FB Ref, which really does highlight the importance of individuals in a team sport, and that's the expected goals plus minus. Because it's literally only calculated from when that player is on the pitch for their team.
Yeah, so it's the exact minutes he's played, isn't it? So it's why it's really important. And as you posted there, Thiago's well ahead, half a goal, if you like, 0.5 ahead of anybody else. 2.52
per game, his expected goals plus minus. So when he plays, that would be equivalent of, say, an XG of 3 to 0.5 in a match.
Yeah, a big chance, basically. A big chance more. A big chance more, and nearly 2 big chances more than City's closest player.
So there's 3 monster teams in Europe in terms of the numbers. It's Liverpool, it's us, it's City, and it's Bayern. And but next on the list is Leroy Sané, and he's 2.04 ahead. And then there's a few players, and we've got one other player in the top 10. We've got Joel Matip down at 1.71, which is a hell of an achievement for that. Yeah. But if XG plus minus per 90 doesn't float your boat, how about total XG plus minus? Because we got the player top in the list on that one as well with Virgil van Dijk. Ahead of any Man City, but to think that we can get players on these lists ahead of City and Bayern players, that's how good this team is.
I know, and I know we've said it time and time again, and keep saying it, but you really have to enjoy this side because they are phenomenal. They really are phenomenal. I mean, were they averaging below a goal now at XGA?
0.85 now.
Right, we're still just below 2, maybe XG in attack. We're creating a good number of big chances a game. This is a phenomenal football team. And we're now doing rotation in completely in line with what the science says. So you're seeing a fully functioning 11 coming into the back of the season, and we've won 1 and we've got 3 still on the board. I mean, you really have to enjoy this team and not moan about all the other stuff that goes on.
Yeah.
They're not going to be around forever.
Yeah. Yeah. And to top a good week off, Roman gets sanctioned as well. But
well, yeah, I know. But someone, the thing is with that, I know you love that. I love a bit of the geopolitical stuff. But for me, someone else will buy it, right? Someone else will buy Chelsea, and it will repeat. That's just what's going to happen.
You don't know what kind of, ownership is a mad thing.
It's a funny thing. Unless it's an American owner, it'll be somebody else, and they'll put money in. You know how it is. But
as we know, there's good American owners and there's bad American owners.
Americans don't have the money to invest 2.7 billion pounds. It's $4 billion. They're
but they
they're
can
not going to invest that kind of money in Chelsea.
See what the Glazers did, though.
So
you have to have a non-business reason to do it, and there isn't one.
And then they're not going to be able to put that money in anyway because the proceeds will go to Abramovich. So where's that $4 billion? It's not going to go anywhere, is it?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
So what exactly is the value of Chelsea? I don't know, Danny.
I don't know. You'd have to till it all comes out.
Well, they've got 1.5 billion debt that the owner has to pay.
Yeah.
Oh,
apparently your NFL team, Si, your owner is one of the guys bidding for. Isn't he?
Yeah, he's not dodgy at all. But he does own one of the, I think, 7 biggest companies in the world. So they are the people that can.
Yeah.
Off.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, there was a very nice press leading to a shot. As I mentioned, the triple group press here. This is what I wanted to talk about with the Diaz break here. This was perfection. It was the set the trap, press Trossard, release Diaz, and then talk us through the rest of it because that was just phenomenal. It's the ability of him to travel long distances at such speed. It's a really rare thing, right?
He gets faster with the ball, I'm fairly sure.
Yeah,
that's got to be rare in itself.
Yeah, we've got a couple of girls in the that like it, but yeah, he is a remarkable, rapid lad who loves. Mane and Salah both evolved since they arrived. Both of them, when they first arrived, got the ball and dribbled past people. As soon as they got the ball, it was like their first thought was, "How I'm going to beat this fucker," and that's all he wants to do all the time. That's his absolutely.
Yeah.
And hopefully over the course of a year, expand his mind into understanding what happens after beating that fella.
Yeah.
But it's fun to watch for sure.
When he's only been here 2 months, right? So or 6 weeks even.
Not even 5 weeks. Yeah.
So his decision making will improve over time. But on this occasion, on this break, his decision making was outstanding, wasn't it? Si? That cutback there it was just perfection.
Yeah.
You mean the one where Mo puts it wide?
Yeah. He kind of slightly scuffs it, but it was that decision making there from Diaz was perfect.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. He had a couple of others where
weren't great.
But like doing the things that he does at this speed, it's pretty rare, and I think we've got 4 of the probably 15 lads in the world that do this. And so it's as Barts was saying, it's remarkable time to be a Liverpool fan. I'm really excited by him. He is very erratic, and I think it's a good thing that he is so erratic. In a sense, and I think erratic makes it sound like there's a negative. So I'm chaotic, maybe better than erratic.
How about mercurial?
Yeah. Mercurial.
No. I don't like mercurial. It means you just sit on the bench and not get played.
Yeah. Chaos, so that he gives the ball to Mo a little bit quicker. I think life will be good.
As one of my tweets said to me, Barts, he looks like he's been made in a lab specifically for Klopp's Liverpool.
Yeah, he's going to take it. I think Si's right, and I've said it before. I think it's just his final thing will come, but it will be interesting. This is just a note, okay? If it carries on as it is, and we get to push to shove, it'd be interesting whether the 3 normal lads, if they're fit, play because they know the system and they know they will take advantage of the percentages more than the chaos lad.
You mean if Jota's fully fitted and firing again?
If we have Mo, Mane and Jota fit going into the running, I do wonder whether Klopp will go, I know when it's in this position we will create a chance, rather than Chaos Diaz, as Si's called him now. There is still a chance that he won't make that right decision.
It's good to have that option.
From the bench, yeah.
No, I mean just generally to have that.
No, I think going forward, I'm excited. I'm massively excited by him being on. I'm just, when it really comes to those crunch games, it'll be interesting to see what decisions he makes.
I think the level of stability we have behind it affords us the luxury of playing that nutter.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It just you know what it's like with Klopp in the really big game, Champions League semi-finals, that kind of stuff. You know.
But yeah, you're probably right.
Chances.
It's worth pointing out on the way that even on Match of the Day, Jermaine Genius and Alan Shearer basically both were talking about Liverpool's recruitment, and they said, "Well, you know how this guy." I mean, he said, Genius said, "I don't know what they're doing up there at Liverpool, but this guy," he said, "he just looks like he's born to play for Liverpool." And he said, then he looked and they took Jota. Jota came from Wolves. Nobody saw Jota at Wolves, and he comes out and he looks like and he hits the ground running. And I was thinking, absolutely, Jimmy, that's exactly what we do all the fucking time. Exactly. So that's why, because we're so fucking good. Yeah. Off the pitch as well as on it. Anyway, quick question from AJ Ain on the pod side. Really big one. What's the prognosis on Salah? He came off injured. This is, my God, everybody's in shock. He actually he was forced off in a match.
Yeah.
Do we have a prognosis?
I don't. I've no idea. I've no idea what's wrong with him. I don't think anybody knows what's wrong with him. There's nothing public anyway. Yeah.
You said basically what you saw on your TV screen did concern you, didn't it? When he was because it was pointing to something behind the knee, I think you said.
Yeah. The echo said it was his foot.
He kicked someone on 56.
It looks like rear lateral portion of the left, the back left corner of the knee looks. So it could be hamstring, it could be insertion of a calf, it could be a ligament, it could be a kick on one of those or on a bone on the side of the leg. But I think it was an overstretched ligament by the actions that happened before it.
Would you be surprised to see him against either Arsenal or Forest?
I would never be surprised to see Mo Salah anywhere. But we have
the only player who's kept him out is Chowdhury, isn't it? He's the only one.
Yeah, and that was for one game, and he killed him. So it's impossible, and it's the same knee. It's impossible to know, literally, because there's no history of how quickly he recovers from injuries. Everybody is different, and some players have recover quickly, some quicker than others, and we have no idea. Never.
Yeah. So I guess we find out at Klopp's presser tomorrow. Then I think
is that the game one for Arsenal? Yeah.
Yeah, because the Arsenal game's Wednesday, so Klopp's presser will be Tuesday afternoon, won't it?
Is it international after the cup game?
Yeah, it's Forest on Sunday, and then international break. So, okay. Any other business for Brighton, chaps? Did you get everything out that you wanted to?
Yeah, I thought it was just a controlled performance as we've been putting in recently. I said we made them play the way we wanted to play, and we got the result we wanted. It was good. Only down point was Mo coming off. That was it for me.
Okay. Any final words, say?
Nope.
Okay. In that case, thanks everybody for listening. We will be back next Tuesday for a double header of Arsenal and Nottingham Forest. Until then, up the Reds.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.